So in this video, we're going to look at two very simple effects, which sometimes get overlooked, but they're definitely worth grabbing a hold of and using in your tracks. And that is to use panning and tremolo, which are very similar effects. So one works in a dynamic sense, so it pushes up and down the volume, which is the tremolo, and Autopan works in a similar fashion, but it's moving the audio from left to right. So it utilizes waveforms to create the rhythmic pattern. And these are really useful when you want to inject more dynamic movement and groove into loops and patterns. And when you just want things to kind of modulate and move around the stereo field more. So let's look at a few different ways that I would tend to use these. So let's get stuck straight in. So this first one, we're just going to be looking at this loop here from the Fuse pack. And we're going to be using this Autopan here to pan the perc around the stereo field, so it's going to have a lot more movement. And with the Ableton Autopan, you can set the rate to match the tempo of your project, so it can be completely in time with the rhythm. So what I've done here is I've set it to quarter notes, and we pulled the phase down a little bit because I just found it sounded a little bit nicer just off phase. And you can play around with that phase as it's playing to kind of hit a point where you like it. And that's just moving the phase of the LFOs. So if they're moving at the same time and they meet in the middle, when you move the phase, it just moves the waveforms over slightly like this. So they start and end at different times. So let's go ahead and start to dial this in. So it's like rhythmically moving now, and if you listen to before and after. So there's one way that you could use it. And what I would do is I would actually layer that up with a few percussive elements that are just going to sit in the middle, you know, like the main stuff like the kick and the snare and maybe another hat as well. Because I always feel like to make stuff punchy, you want it to sit quite solidly in the middle. So I would tend to do this on some percussive elements that are not quite as important as the main three elements for the groove, like, you know, like the hat, the snare and the kick. And I would just kind of maybe get rides or something like that and push them out to the edges, or percussive elements. So there's the first one. Second one is to randomize the panning of a synth loop. So we've got this alter sequence here. And this time we've got the Autopan set to random. We've got it to 3/16 there. And we put it all the way up as well, so it's really going to hit the sides. So you can change the LFO shape here at the bottom. So you've got these different ones, and then you've also got the random one there. So okay, the bleeps are just kind of bouncing around the stereo field randomly. And again, like I said in previous videos, random is just a really good way to inject some movement into the track that's not stagnating and just keeps repeating throughout the whole track. You've constantly got it moving around in different ways every single time, and it keeps the listener's ears interested. It's just ear candy when it's moving around like that. It just keeps your mind and your ears interested in what's going on. And the next one is a rhythmic pan. So we're going to be looking at this loop here. So it's an effects taken from the Aurora pack, and what we're going to do is take that kind of long note sound and make it move. So you can take any loop, any kind of like legato type sound where it's just kind of like long notes, and you can make it move rhythmically. So let's have a listen to this now. And this before. So a really easy, quick way to just kind of create a rhythm out of any loop that's not actually that rhythmic to start with, but you really like the sound of it and you just want it to move more with the track. And next we're going to be looking at the tremolo effect. So I know we've got the Autopan set up here, but a cool little feature with the Autopan is if you go to the phase here and bring it all the way down to 0 or all the way up to 360, changes the phase so it's actually affecting the volume rather than the panning, which is quite cool. So let's go ahead and use this on this loop that I've got here. So that's taken from the fuse pack, and we're going to use this in tremolo mode to add more like ducking and rhythm to the original loop. So check this out. And this is before. So much longer notes, and what we've done there is we've just like really cut into the rhythm to make it a little bit more rhythmic. And you can play around with the rate as well. So we had it like on 16ths. You can put it on different ones. Yeah, it's quite cool. And then obviously you've got the amount there, so you can bleed it in with the original, or you can have it all the way up. I mean, you could even modulate that as well and have it kind of going off and on as the loop plays. And so that's the first one, where I'd use a tremolo. And the second one is similar, but using it to chop up a synth. So we've got this here. Really nice arpeggiated sound, but I want it to sound to have less decay and be like choppier, more rhythmic. And so what we've got here is the Autopan set to tremolo mode again with the phase all the way down. And we've got it set to 16ths, but this time we've changed the shape, so we've got the reverse ramp pattern. So it's kind of, I mean, you can change that as well, so it's going like you would on a synth with like an envelope decay, so it would start there and then go down. Or you can reverse it with the offset. Is it offset? No, sorry, I got that wrong. Not the offset, the normal button here. So if you click that, it inverts the waveform, as you can see there. And so what we've done here is left it on normal, put that on, and it's going to create this kind of like rhythmic starting point for the notes. So it sounds like when you hit a note, basically. So the note hits and then it fades off every 16th. And the original. So it's a really good way actually if you're working with a loop and you find that the loop just has too much effect on it, too much reverb, decay or anything like that, and you want to really make it snappy and short. Obviously you could go into the clip and do that trick where you switch it on this one and bring the envelope down. Doesn't always work too well, like sometimes it misses the start point of the note, and maybe you just want it to be straight 16ths rather than when the note's hit. So this is a really good way to do that. And again, you can bleed it in with the original using the amount knob. Also, that's giving you more control over it as well, so you could open that up as the track goes along. So you could start there and then open it up as it progresses. And the next one we're going to look at is similar kind of technique, but remember when I said about the invert button? Well, we're going to use the invert button to invert that waveform again and put it on quarter notes, and we're going to turn the tremolo or the Autopan into a sidechain effect. So what we're going to do here is we've got this bass sound and we've also got this kick. So it works really well already. And what we're going to do is use this Autopan to kind of make it duck more. So instead of grabbing hold of a side, like a compressor, and hooking it up to the kick, you can just use this instead. And I found that it's actually quite like a much quicker way of doing it, especially if you save the rack. And if the kick goes out, the sidechain is still going. Whereas if you stopped the kick, the sidechain would stop, if that's something that you wanted. So let's have a listen with this on, and then I'll take it off again. So it really works with that. I like the way it kind of like ducks it, and then you get like a tail of a reverb popping through as well. It sounds really nice. And again, with this, the amount knob is the effect of the sidechain really. So if you want to increase the sidechain, you might not want full kind of ducking sidechain like that. You might just want a little touch of it, and you can just bleed this in like this. Until you find the sweet spot where you want it. So there we just covered Autopan and Tremelo, and also I showed you a few ways in which you can start using these effects in your projects. Next, I'd like to know, are you using these effects quite often in your own music? Are you using Ableton stock plugins, or do you use VSTs for this? Please let us know in the comment section below, and I look forward to checking those out. Thank you.